Hello, Jarian Gibson here with Nutanix EUC Engineering. Today, we're going to talk to you about a new feature in Nutanix Files that will help you sync your user data between two locations. That new feature is called Nutanix Files VDI Sync. So let's go ahead and get into the overview and then the demo of Nutanix Files VDI Sync. So today, when you want to get your user data between two different locations, you have to look at either a third-party solution, which will do both your profile and your user data, or what you look into is using the built-in solution of the profile solution. For example, Microsoft FS Logics has Cloud Cache, Citrix Profile Management has Replicate User Stores, but that only gets things inside the profile. So if you want to get the profile and the user data, either you're bolting on a third-party solution with the native profile sync piece to get the profile and the user data, or you're replacing the native profile sync with a third-party solution entirely. So what are we solving with VDI Sync for Nutanix Files? We are solving persona availability. So how are we solving this? Think about you have your control plane infrastructure, your broker, how you're routing your users and publishing resources to them. Then you're going to have the shares out there, and typically those shares will have your profile and then your user data. Things like, folder redirection for my documents, desktop, etc. So what are we doing? So we're building this into Nutanix Files. So what's going to happen is you're going to have your Prism Central set up, and you're going to have that manage your Nutanix Files instance. You're going to have that in one location. And then in your secondary location, you will have another Prism Central instance set up and another Nutanix file server. Now you will have shares for things like, again, your profile and your folder redirection. What you do then is you set up your policies to be able to sync bi-directionally between the file server instances. Now a user can only be active at one side at a time, but they can log off and then log on again to either side and get all their data. Now, this will allow you to do either an active-passive or an active-active roaming-like availability. This also removes the need to pay for a third-party solution to do this. As we talked about previously, the native profile solutions have their own sync for just the profile. But again, if you want the user data outside the profile as well, that's where you're bolting on a third-party solution. Now with this, you no longer have to use the built-in profile solution or look for a third-party solution to sync this as well. You can still use that, but we give you the capability all inside of Nutanix Files VDI Sync. Your application for this feature can be as low as 10 minutes. That's going to be dependent on how much data, your connectivity between the locations, etc. And also, this is going to be built into your existing licensing. So if you are licensed for Nutanix Files, you're going to have the capability to do VDI Sync, whether you're licensed through our Nutanix Unified Storage licensing or our EUC VDI per user licensing that comes with Files as well. So what does this look like? You have your two Prism Central instances. They'll be in their own availability zone and be paired to each other. You will have your broker that will go ahead and route the user to the appropriate desktop and also the backend resources, whether that's through the policies on the broker or using things like group policy to get their profile and the redirected data. Then you'll set your policies up on your existing file servers, making sure that you do the initial sync from the file server that has the data. And then after that, the file will sync back and forth between the two file servers, and users can log on to either side. Now, again, users can only be logged on to one side at a time, but they can get their data and log on to either side once they log off and that lock clears through replication. Now, again, this is going to be at the share level, but it will replicate each user's folders within that share. So I can be logged on to site A, for example, and say another user can be logged on to site B. Those data, once they replicate, will be available on both locations for us to log on to either one. So now let's get into the VDI Sync demo for setting up the policy and looking at the workflow of Nutanix Files VDI Sync. So now let's look at our file servers, both deployed with Nutanix Files. Both have identical shares for profiles and redirected folders. And so you see here, they both are the exact same. just different file servers under different Prism Central instances. Now, if we go to the Files console inside of Prism Central, you will again see our settings here. The file shares both have their different settings accordingly. They both are distributed shares. And we are just here checking the file server to show everything is the exact same. They're identical, just being under different Prism Central instances. So now let's create our VDI sync policies to start replication. Inside of the Files console in Prism Central, you will go down to Data Replication, and then you will go to Policies. Click New Replication Policy, and you will see 3 options. We want to pick the one for VDI synchronization. This is a bi-directional policy. The first thing you're going to do is select your settings for your source file server for the initial replication. So availability zones, the file server, and then you're going to go ahead and pick the shares. Once you do that, you click Add, and then you will click your partner one. On your partner one, you will select the Prism Central in the availability zone. You will pick your secondary file server, and then you will map your shares in the same order. Once you do that, you will then pick your sync schedule. This can be as low as 10 minutes, but you can put in here minutes, hours, or days, and then you can tell it to start immediately or start from a specific point in time. Click Next, give your policy a name, and then you will click Create. Once the policy is created, you will go ahead and see it listed in the console. You can click on the policy. You can also go to your partner Prism Central in the other availability zone. Also look at the policies there, and you will see the same policy there. When you make changes on either side, it will reflect on both sides. In here, you see a nice overview of the policy, the replication status. You can look at the shares. I noticed you see 4 shares, the number of shares for each side that you map. So we did 2, so we see 4 shares. You'll see replication jobs here. And with our schedule being 10 minutes, those will kick off about every 10 minutes. And then you can see user connection failures in case you need to solve any kind of conflicts for users accessing their data. We're now going to go ahead and launch a session for file server 1 with our configuration and getting all of our data from file server 1. We are using Citrix profile management and profile containers in this demo. And so here we're going to log into the desktop, and you will see all of our data in here on file server 1. So now that we are logged on to our Windows 11 desktop, we're going to do a simple demo of showing you our redirection of the desktop here. So we just have a text file where we can go ahead and update which file server location we're using, and then also show our redirection of our My Documents as well. So we go in here and just explore. You'll see the same document here. We also are telling other data to follow My Documents like videos and pictures, etc. And so we'll do the same thing here. And then we'll look at the properties of it to show you that all of our data is being local from file server 1, along with our profile as well. So you see the documents redirection. We will see the desktop redirection as well. Now we can go ahead and close things out and log off, and then wait for our replication interval of 10 minutes to sync, to also release the locks as well, so we can log on to our desktop for file server 2 next. As you see here, no user connection issues because I logged into one side. And then we're going to go ahead and wait for our application job to start. While we are waiting, you'll see here our configuration. We have 2 delivery groups, one for file server 1, one for file server 2. They both are using profile management profile containers. This is being controlled by our policies. So our policies for file server 1 are going to show that all of our configuration is set up to point to file server 1 for those desktops in that delivery group that are tagged with that policy. As you see here, we're doing our redirection location for our profile and also the locations for our documents and our desktop redirection as well. As we go through our policies here, is all the configuration is local. And again, you'll see it's assigned to that delivery group for file server 1. If we go to the policy for file server 2, we will see the exact same thing. The only difference is it'll be tagged to our delivery group for file server 2, and the policies will point to file server 2 to kind of make it look like we have that localized data. Now, you can control this other ways too. You can use the policy engine in Citrix. You can use OUs, whatever profile solution that you were using. It should have any kind of configuration for you to apply the policies to the correct data center. So again, you want to make sure that all the data is getting service from the local data center they log into. And again, using policies, whether it's Microsoft group policies or the profile solution configuration, to point them to the proper locations, along with thinking about your OU setup as well, and then making sure that you have Active Directory sites and services set up properly to make sure they always hit the local domain controllers. So now we go back to our files console, and you can see our replication is happening during our schedule sync interval. You can also see the previously completed replications. The synchronization will depend on how much data change happens. The initial sync is a full sync, while synchronizations after that are only delta changes. This is all done at the block level, so it doesn't matter if users are logged in or not. If they have containers mounted, this is all block level replication and delta sync for changes. Now that replication is completed, we can go ahead and look at our other side. And again, you'll see the same things on both sides. Everything gets updated. They're basically partners in synchronization here. Now we can go ahead and launch a desktop on file server 2. And this will make sure that we get all of our resources from file server 2 for our profile and redirection as set up by our configuration for Citrix profile management and our policies. So we're logging into our desktop here. No user connection failures because synchronization happened after I was logged off to clear the locks, so I was free to log on to either side. So we log on to the desktop. We look at our same demo steps here for Notepad. We see that file server 1 was our last one. We're going to update it with file server 2 for our desktop redirection. Do the same thing for our documents redirection. And this profile container was serviced from file server 2 as well. So we'll go ahead and update our Notepad here for files 02 and save it. And then just verify our locations as we're logged on to the desktop like we did before to show you that we're using the local locations for these redirected items. And so everything looks good there. Everything from file server 02. We can now go ahead and log off. And then what we can do is let replication happen. And then we should log back on to file server 01, see the updates. And again, the locks will clear once you're logged off and replication happens, giving you the availability to log on to either side. As you can see, Nutanix Files VDI Sync is pretty easy to set up and be able to get you to sync your data between two Nutanix file servers, whether they're in your data center or they're across data centers. Thank you for watching this video today, and we'll talk to you next time.